Okay, I'm just gonna chuck turkey out. In outside, in outside. Go on, bloody thing. Making all that noise. Outside. My prince is coming. I can't believe it. Bill's at Hampton Court with one of his girlfriends. How many women has he got in his life? Do you know what I mean? He's a bit greedy.
Yes, too much.
Do you know what? Right, Roger, you'd share your women around if you had more than 3, wouldn't you?
Yes. Yeah.
So, right, any news from anybody this week?
No.
Oh, I wasn't asking you. I was asking Del. Del's always got news for us. Come on, Del.
No, I can't think of any this time. Nope.
You've got to have something to say because I've got to finish my noodles.
Well, nope, can't think of anything.
Del, you can't not have anything to say. It's just not on. Oh, all right. What about you, Richard? Anything you want to say before we start? Go on, you've got to say something.
Nothing exciting. Not that I can think of. You're going to be on time on Monday?
Yeah. Rosamond's joining us the following week.
Who, sorry?
Rosamond.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember Rosamond?
Yeah.
And we got right. I can't believe Roger hasn't got any news for us.
No, not yet.
Well, I'm just gonna finish off my noodles and we'll get started. Has everyone got a drink? Has everyone got a drink to drink?
Yes.
Oh.
No, I haven't. I just had one.
Got me covered.
I'm just gonna finish. Because as you know, the Romans did not eat noodles.
No.
That's why I'm eating them.
Noodles.
Noodles, yeah. Noodles. Noodles. I was at Trellick in the week, Roger.
What happened on there last Friday, wasn't it?
Yeah, Stuart's dad was there, mowing the lawn.
All right. Mowing the lawn. He used to have sheep to do that.
Did he?
Yeah.
He used to have his own sheep.
No, that farmer's sheep, or that neighbour's sheep, to keep it down.
Ah, right. They haven't got them anymore.
I don't know what he does. Stuart's his own master, what he does.
And also there's another archaeologist with an excavation up the road now as well.
Is that?
Yeah, yeah, somebody else has brought some more land which is over opposite the stones apparently.
Oh, around there, right. They bought it near the Bailey.
Yeah, it's a woman by the name of Churchill. I think I've come across her years ago.
Churchill. No, I don't know.
So.
All right. Interesting.
I'm just going to get this down, mate.
It used to be a big town, you know, so there's stuff everywhere there.
What's that, Rog?
Some days with Steve, you know, watching briefs and stuff, where they found various, what we thought were tanning vats and stuff like that around the area there, on that crossroads.
Right.
You know, so it's forward.
Right, that's my dinner done. Okay.
Well,
so we're going to get this recorded now on 3, 2, 1. So, okay, it's fine. Yeah. Right, so we're going to be looking at Roman roads today, and we're going to have a nice little session beginning this very, very second. And you'll be surprised to see, you'll be surprised for me to say that although we've got 10,000 miles worth of Roman road in Britain, very little of it looks like the Roman roads that we were taught about at school. with these really heavy slabs on the top, with a ditch either side, made up of several layers of gravel and sand and all the rest of it. There's not much of that surviving in Britain, but there are one or two sections. Now, I found a section of Roman road today that I'd never heard of, and we're going to look at that one. And we're going to look at a very well-known stretch of Roman road in Northumberland, which is going to be rather interesting. We'll mention the Fossway and a couple of other things. 10,000 miles worth of roads in Roman Britain is quite a lot. And naturally, we're just going to do about 1% of it. And I think that'll be acceptable. And maybe in the next few weeks, we'll look at the Apolline Way and so on in connection with the greater Roman roads in the Roman Empire. So let's have a little look at one of these images and a map that will be very, very familiar to you now. So this is one that I usually use every single week. Roman roads in Britain. Now, you'll be interested to know that we have Roman roads stretching beyond the Antonine Wall in Scotland. That's one little fact. You'll notice in large tracts of the lowlands of Scotland, there's lots of indicated Roman roads. There's more tracks, there's more lengths of Roman road than shown on this map. Another fact number 2, the Roman road that we do know heading out of Carmarthen, we do believe we got evidence now that it went all the way to the sea. So that's the next fact. We're also thinking as well that the Roman road that led from Isca, Exeter, led all the way into the depths of Cornwall. Whether it got to the end of the Lizard, we don't know. But, you know, it's said that the one reason why the Cornish had been seen to be very successful with their kingdom up until about 800 years AD was because they had usable roads that they could move people around to deal with problems. And likewise, the reason why Cornwall may have been conquered quite rapidly by the Anglo-Saxons is the very same reason, because Roman roads existed in Cornwall. So we could chuck on a couple of Roman roads on the Isle of Wight as well, a couple more in Wales, a couple more north of London and in Kent and all the rest of it. There's a lot more, but these are the main roads. And there's characteristically roads leading to that wonderful place that we mentioned last week of Lincoln, as much as there's lots of roads coming in out of Eberacum, the likes of York, and you see a number of roads. All roads lead to London. That should be all roads lead to Londinium, but that's something else. So this is showing you some of the names of these Roman roads. There's dozens of individual names of Roman roads, dozens of them. And I'm going to mention a couple. Now, this big red road running down here is the Ermine Street. Now, if any of you have been to Culzean, they will have seen the Ermine Street Guard. They took their name from the Ermine Street that heads all the way from Londinium, London, all the way through to Eberacum, and then it continues as Dane Street all the way from York into the depths of Scotland. So in other words, this length of road, if you want to stretch it all the way from Chichester, Novomagus, which is another name, Stane Street. There's 2 Stane Streets actually in Britain, but one's along Hadrian's Wall, but this is the Stane Street from Chichester all the way from the sea, all the way through to London, all the way through to Hadrian's Wall, and continues all the way north with 3 separate names. Now, the 2 names of Roman roads are also very, very well known. And one of them is Watling Street. Now, Watling Street heads all the way from Dover, all the way into Canterbury, all the way through to London, and it leads all the way up north, Viraconium, into Chester. I don't believe any of you are on the Chester trip, but this is the Watling Street. So that's the other famous one. So far we've got Ermine Street, Watling Street, and then the big one which we will also look at today, the big one, is in fact the Fosse Way, which leads all the way from Isca, Exeter. And if you extend that all the way into Cornwall, it's quite a length. So you can head all the way here, all the way along the Green Line, all the way up to Lincoln. Again, this road leads into Lincoln. So there are lots of other names of Roman roads, which were the Ackerman Street, for example, which is quite a big one, which goes through to St. Albans. But if we mention, and obviously the lots of the San Helens, the Julius Maritimer in South Wales, and so on. As you can see from this map, there's a lot more Roman roads on this map. Well, there are, but this is just a simplified map showing these Roman roads. Now, the reason why you should get excited about the Fosse Way is quite simple. The Fosse Way was the boundary between Roman conquered Britain up to about 75 AD and non-conquered Britain. So there was the Green Line was the dividing line. It was the frontier. It was a raised road. It was a raised camber, a big raised road. So in the north, you would see it as like a barrier, and in the south, you would see it as your frontier with the north. Easy. You could think about the north-south divide. Well, it's not exactly like that, is it? It's said above the south, below the M4 motorway and whatever. But if you want to say about the north-south divide, that's where it is. And the one thing that can be said, if you go all the way up to Hadrian's Wall, there's also another Stane Street, right, that leads all the way from Longavadium all the way to Bayer, which is Newcastle, through to Carlisle, through to Corbridge. This is Stane Street, and the idea was when the Romans actually got north up to about 80 odd years AD, they set up Stane Street, and basically what it was a raised road. The other Stane Street, because we mentioned the one in the south, another raised road. So and that was seen as a frontier, a barrier. And you might be able to sort of go down in a dip or on top of the road and back down the other side and charge into the south. And equally, the Romans would have the same thing, jumping down into a ditch on the top into the north. But the idea, the consciousness is if it's seen to look like a barrier, it's a barrier, and you would just avoid it. You're in the north, you're in the south. You could climb over it, but we'll just leave it as it is. And we do this today, don't we? We see big boulders on the side of the road, and we think, right, we can't go past those boulders with our car. It's the same principle. So I think the best thing we should do is to keep this on there now. And again, I will just mention that if I don't get through all this today, then we don't get through it all today. But the Roman roads of Roman Britain. Now, there's little bits of Roman roads being found all the time, and they are not, as I say, the great stupendous roads that all lead to Rome. But I do have a copy. It's one of the it's the 1973 edition of a chap who wrote extensively about all the Roman roads in Britain. In fact, if the Roman roads weren't in his book in 1973, they weren't Roman roads. I got to mention that as well. I've actually seen a map of the Vale of Glamorgan, and every road on the Vale of Glamorgan on this map is classed as Roman. In fact, there's probably only likely one Roman road in the Vale of Glamorgan. So you've got to be very careful when things are mentioned as being Roman roads. They're probably not. Now, this guy by the name of Ivan Magaray, he wrote his book Roman Roads in Britain in 1973. And do you know what I could do? I can see if I got a copy on my shelf a minute. I didn't actually check it. Where's it? Magaray. Where's my Magaray book? Is it still in the studio? I think it is. I don't seem to have it on my shelves, folks. I'm just going to double check. I just want to show you. It's a big chunky book. I think I've got it on here. No. I don't have my Magaray book, but if you do get hold of the Magaray book, it's very similar to this. It's green. It's about this thickness, and it is literally this thickness. I haven't got it with me today. And it's got road after road after road after road after road after road. 10,000 miles of them. So if I was to do a whole series of lectures on Roman roads, I would have lots of change left over after 6 weeks. So there is actually websites on the internet. There's a website on the internet, roads roads of Roman Britain. And I'm looking at this quote now, roads of Roman Britain now. So the one thing about this website and the Magaray book, this isn't the Magaray book, it's red, by the way, that basically is the resource for Roman roads, but bits of Roman roads are actually coming up all the time. Now, the Roman road classification system offered by Ivan Magaray, Margary's, you might be able to get a copy for 50 quid off the internet. He numbered all these Roman roads, and it's those numbers that we still use today to understand the Roman roads. Now, here's a few interesting points. We've got the Romans in the Antonine itinerary, in the Roman period itself, writing about the Roman roads. We've got the Notitia Dignitatum, which is another Roman source, which tells us about Roman roads. We've got the Ravenna Cosmography, written after the collapse of Roman Britain. So we've got all these little sources sort of mentioning Roman roads before Magaray actually, most of the Roman roads that the Romans actually write about are only a small number of the Roman roads that Magaray actually eventually found and understood to be Roman roads. There are Roman roads that we haven't found in Britain, because there's like a settlement there and there's a settlement there, and they haven't actually found the link between the two. You know, I haven't found. There's lots of Roman roads in Cumbria between the great military forts that haven't been found and postulated to have existed. There's another book which was written in the 1700s that is called the De Citte Britanniae. Unfortunately, lots of what's written in this publication from the 1700s is actually false. So what it was Magaray's job to actually really find out, his entire life was Roman roads. That's all he did. He come out with his final Bible on Roman roads in 1973. He died in 1976. And to his credit, we still refer to Magaray with regards to Roman roads. One or two been added to his list since, but not many. Now, what we do find is we're going to go to Yorkshire, but we're going to go to Northumbria first. And we're gonna go to Yorkshire, and 10% of all the Roman roads ever built in Britain are to be found in Yorkshire. And one of the great stretches of Roman road is to be found in Yorkshire. And I'm not going to mention what that one is yet. We're gonna come to that. So 964 miles, 10% of all Roman roads in Britain are actually found in Yorkshire. I'll just remind you, the website to actually go to is roadsofromanbritain.org. Very well worth a visit. Now, I'm just going to chuck in a little image, right? And that little image will be the backdrop of the text that I'm going to read out now. So, yes, we've got, interesting enough, up here, this is Yorkshire. And it doesn't show 10% of all the Roman roads in Britain, but be jolly good and all the rest of it. There's 10% of the Roman roads in Yorkshire. Now this one, doesn't this look really sexy and impressive? Bits of Roman roads can still be seen. Soldiers and carts use this cobbled road to travel between Manchester and Yorkshire. However, some people argue that it might not actually be Roman. So I sat down today and I just thought, if I'm going to make that statement, I better find an actual road that's 1,000,000% Roman, right? And I found one that's quite impressive, that's 1,000,000% Roman. There's a little sign of doubt that this might not be Roman, but who was building it if it wasn't Roman, right? So 10% doubt that this is not Roman, 90% that it is. Most of my texts say that this is a Roman road. In actually, this stretch of Roman road isn't in Yorkshire, it's in Northumbria. And again, we will do the proper 100% Roman road in a short while. So I'll give you a few little smack away facts. So, fact one fact that this following fact is wrong. Britain had no proper roads before the Romans. There were just muddy tracks. That's wrong. Because one thing that is now being said is, in particularly Wales and places like Somerset and Peterborough, is that lots of lengths of roads did exist before the Romans. We found them. In Somerset, there's something called the Sweet Track that was built thousands of years before the Romans built their roads across a boggy landscape, right? That could be classed as a track, but it's definitely something that is very impressive, right? So roads did exist and tracks did exist in Roman Britain, but they weren't as wide and they weren't as impressive as the Roman roads would be to come. So 10,000 miles of road, which is quite phenomenal, actually. If I can remember right, hang on a minute. If I'm going to get my facts straight here. Oh, hang on a minute. I'm just trying to work out how many miles of motorway there is in Britain. Is it 2,000 miles? And there were 10,000 miles of Roman road. Double check me on the 2,000 miles of motorway, but 10,000 miles of Roman road is impressive. The Romans knew that the shortest distance from one place to another is a straight line. So they made all their roads as straight as possible to get around quickly. Well, actually, it's a bit obvious, actually. You build your next town or city where it's the most appropriate along the length of the Roman road. So it's likely that the Roman road came first before the towns and cities were built. In many situations, as Time Team episodes would testate, that Roman roads were being built, and along crossroads and so on associated with Roman roads, they would establish little townships, and those townships would evolve into sort of proper towns and with industrialized areas. So the roads probably came first. So it's probably slightly inaccurate to say that it went from point A to B because that was the shortest distance. It went from A to B because the Roman road was built first. Their foundations of Roman roads are rather interesting. It's a mixture. No Roman road has one formula. So under some Roman roads, you might have chalk and clay that would be useful for Roman roads in the south. In the north, you might use gravels. And actually, you might actually find that some Roman roads are built across peat bogs, and the Roman road surface is actually constructed on the top of planks, right? So, you know, there are other ways of build, basically inspired from local building skills associated with previous roads. They laid bigger flat stones on top. Roman roads bulged in the middle and had ditches either side to help the rainwater drain off. And basically, the way that worked is quite simple. So if I get my little image in here, what you would find a little bit of a camber, and you would go down again, and you'd have a ditch, a V-shaped ditch either side. So basically the camber, the agger itself with the bank with the bank and ditch on either side to drainage. This is unusual that it's actually got a drainage channel in the middle of the road. But again, the thing is, if there's that 10% doubt that this is actually that this isn't Roman, right, and this was constructed in the 1700s, there's no record that it was actually constructed in the 1700s either, and a lot of effort would have actually gone into the construction of this road. That is a point. It was discussed in connection with the Turnpike Acts in England, not the Turnpike Acts in Wales, which was a bit later. The Turnpike Acts in England, that stretches of road were constructed and people could actually pay tolls on it, but we don't have any evidence that this is actually a turnpike road. But it's always good to give you another opinion, and I'm sure you will agree. It's all for the good of the country, that my granddad used to say whenever I used to meet women. It's all for the good of the country. So anyway, moving on again. So some Roman roads have been converted into modern motorways and main roads we use today. You can still find a few places where the original Roman road is still visible too. Now, the one thing that can actually be said about that is that, for example, the A48 going through the Vale of Glamorgan, the Roman road, actually, it's not exactly true that the Roman road is actually directly underneath the A48. It's actually slightly a little bit below it, because what happened over the years, road surfaces would be ground down and then become hollows. So basically, you move the road a bit further above it, and that's the next road surface. And when that goes into a hollow and all the mud's pushed into into the previous road, then you build another road, and this is what we see with the A48. But it does approximately run along the tract on the modern A48. And some motorways in Britain actually follow course lengths of original Roman roads. So now that we've done that, right, I'm going to sort of do that, and I'm going to go like that, and I'm going to actually look at, I've got a few images coming up. I'm just going to make sure that I've got my, hang on a minute. I've got that one. Yes, that's with the detail I need. Blackstone edge is what I'm looking for. That's what we're actually going to be looking at today. So that's Blackstone edge. We're going to be looking at the wonderful stretch of Wade's Dyke as well. So that's what we'll do. But I just want to see if we've got any other images before we actually go to Blackstone edge. So right, here we go. Hang on, where's my doodah? Right, so there we go. So again, this is all Blackstone edge. Right, okay, right. So Blackstone edge, we'll just do Blackstone edge now. So Blackstone edge, there's this stretch of Roman road, Rochdale, Huddersfield, and I've actually been saying Northumbria, haven't I? This is in Yorkshire. Oh, I got the county completely wrong. Fair enough. I've been saying the best stretch of Roman road is in Northumbria all my life, and I've just suddenly realised it's actually in Yorkshire. Okay, mistake made. I'm allowed to make mistakes and admit that I've made mistakes. So there you go. This is that nice little bit of a stretch. Doesn't that look absolutely fantastic? And if, again, we're going to look at this as a Roman road, and we're just going to put the little doubts in there to sort of give you a second opinion, because I think that's only fair. So Blackstone edge. Magaray's number for Blackstone edge is 720A. That's the number that's the road number he gave it. A bit like the A48 and all the rest of it, right? That's his road numbers. It's probably, for you guys, it is the most famous Roman road that leads out from the old county of Lancashire into the landscape of Yorkshire. Blackstone Edge Road. This short section, with its puzzling centre channel, has been a subject of intense debate as to its origin. It was championed in the 1920s that it's definitely Roman by a Roman professor known as Ian Richmond. It was a local amateur, James Maxim, who had the audacity to challenge the professional wisdom. His book, A Lancashire Lion, examined the evidence and found a medieval pack horse track passing under part of this road, and therefore older than it. He always referred to this road as the Blackstone Edge Long Causeway, and it now appears his contention was almost certainly correct, with this road being a very early turnpike date into 1735, a little late to be Roman, but people still argue that it's Roman. So anyway, going back to the archaeological evidence, I like controversy. This is the one that I've always understood to be the most impressive stretch of Roman road in Britain. So we're gonna have the two opinions. Is it a turnpike road based on the evidence of the amateur archaeologist, or is it a Roman road based on the evidence of a professional archaeologist from 1923, a certain Ian Richmond? He excavated a section across the road, finding it was constructed of single blocks set on top of the natural peat. Down the centre of the road was a curious recessed channel. He went on in 1926 to put forward evidence for a possible Roman road on a line from Manchester to Blackstone Edge, and argued the paved road that here was a Roman construction. It must be said, Richmond wasn't the first to suggest it as Roman, but his opinion carried huge weight because he was a professor of Roman archaeology. So whatever he said was right. You can't doubt what he's saying. However, the downside of calling this a Roman road is it's unique. It's unlike any other Roman road found anywhere. which is always cast doubt on its true origin. It also starts very abruptly, again, hardly a Roman characteristic. A more recent article published by Greater Manchester Archaeological Unit Journal records the historical evidence with no notable exception for this road. Although taking a neutral stance, one sentence did tend to suggest it was of more modern construction than Roman. Regarding the puzzling central groove, while many suggest that the most often quoted is that it is it's there and it's worn down by brake poles associated with later vehicles. However, there's no evidence in the history to actually say it was actually constructed as part of the turnpike acts in the very early stages of the 1700s, which is also very, very unusual. This bloke by a local guy by the name of James Maxim, a local taught amateur, so largely shunned by professional researchers. After all, he doubted that this being a Roman road. Maxim always referred to the Blackstone Edge Roman road as the Blackstone Edge Long Causeway. He points out that prior to 1735, the road was always described as narrow and ruinous. Hardly a fit description for this road, with its being paved and around 16 feet wide. The significance of the 1735 date is that it was constructed as part of the Turnpike Act passed in 1734. However, the road underneath this is more likely to be Roman anyway. So we're going to be left a little bit disappointed today, but we're not. And the reason why we're not, we're going to go away from this giving you the evidence and making up your own mind whether this is Roman or not, or we're going to actually look at a really nice stretch of Roman road elsewhere. So that's Blackstone Edge. Heading out from Manchester, with Roman site in Manchester, Rochdale. And there it is, Blackstone Edge Causeway. It's basically saying you've got this stretch of road running, and it starts and stops. Interestingly enough, there's all these other roads that were built in the 1700s. And the interesting point is why have they got so many roads being constructed as part of the Turnpike Act? Surely this road at Blackstone Edge is an earlier road, constructed well before the 1700s. Interesting point there. And there's another image of it. Now, again, there is some suspicion over this. It does actually go for some distance. And again, I've always believed this to be a wonderful stretch of Roman road. And then when I was reading this, I got a little bit disappointed. I thought, oh my God, this is not going to be enough for them today. And let's look at this and this. This is a Roman road, but we're not going to show you the majesties of this road yet, because there's a lot more to this road than that scrabbly image with bits of stone hanging around the place. So let's mention about the Fosse Way. Okay, so we've done our Blackstone, right? The Fosse Way itself is, we'll show you the image as well. So this is what the Fosse Way looks like today. It's followed by bits of modern road, but bits of trackways as well. This is very different from Blackstone Edge, and there's the Fosse Way going all the way from Exeter, all the way north, all the way through to Lincoln. There you go. That's where the border used to be before it changed after 47 years AD. And where are we? Right. Okay. So, what can we tell you about the Fosse Way? Just a little bit of information. For a lengthy Roman road trip across Britain, I'll just turn this off a minute. For a lengthy Roman road trip across Britain, take the longest remaining Roman road, the Fosse Way. Built to connect Exeter to Lincoln, it is possible to drive almost end to end. Well, maybe not in my car on that. Richard could try it in his 4x4. what were once the original Roman roads, passing a section of spectacular scenery and historical sites along the way. And when it left Exeter, it left the great it left the great gates, the starting point of the Fossway, and next all the way through to Bath. So obviously another important locality, then all the way through to Leicester, another important locality, heading all the way in through to Lincoln. So what I'd like to do now is I would like to take us to the best section of Roman road in Britain. There is 100% Roman. It's known as Wade's Causeway. And Wade's Causeway is still recorded as being in use into the 400s. And that makes it one of the longest, it's one of the longest sort of stretches of proper Roman road, much better than the Fossway, I would say. But the Fossway, you can drive along all of it, but you're not going to be able to drive along the Wade's section of Roman road on the high ground on Wheeldale Moor. So Wheeldale Moor, Wade's Causeway. Let's have a little look at this now. Let's look at these images. Let's just get into this. And again, this is what this is describing just quickly before we get to our Wheeldale Moor. You can imagine the Fossway itself near Northleach, Gloucestershire, and obviously stretches of the Roman road, the modern road following the Roman road away from all the sort of country paths and trackways that the rest of the Fossway actually follows. And sometimes when we go to West Wales and we visit the land in West Wales, I always say to Michelle, there's a stretch of Roman road over there. It just goes on and on and on and on. It's just completely whatever. But the Romans weren't the only people to build straight roads in this country. Roman roads have been built by other notable sections of our history, and it can't just be all down to the wonderful Romans for giving us straight roads. So let's get on to this wonderful Roman road. Actually, what we'll do, we'll just sketch through these images. Look at that. There it is. That's from the 1920s. But since then, it's become a little bit overgrown. That still looks impressive, doesn't it? So we'll go with this. This is what stretches of it do look like. So you wouldn't drive your car along there. But there it is. You follow that length there, and that is the Roman road that we're actually looking at today. So let's just give you a little bit of information and just see where we go with that, really. I think this is absolutely fascinating looking at something like this. I'm just going to move that away. I just got to double check one thing as well. Yes. What we do see is that a stretch of the Roman road is actually associated with Old Mulgrave Castle, and I've got some interesting little bits and pieces about the Roman road being used not just into the Anglo-Saxon period, but actually it's used then into the Viking period. And it's actually said, this is quite ironic, the best stretch of Roman road surviving in Britain, if Blackstone Heath isn't, and it's actually the name that survived is not a Roman name, it's actually an Anglo-Saxon name. So that's rather strange. So, okay, the history of Wheeldale Roman Road. Now, the linear monument, the straight stretch of road on Wheeldale Moor is first recorded as Wade's Causeway, a Roman way, and it's referred on the map of 1720 as a Roman road or a Roman way. Now, this is rather interesting. If I asked Richard to find 100 Roman roads in Britain by looking at old maps, I think he could do it quite easily, can't you, Richard? Because when Richard's looking at his old maps, we usually find that roads are marked as Roman and are not Roman roads at all. Yeah, but this is actually a proper Roman road recorded in the 1720s as Wade's Causeway, a Roman way. It then featured in most antiquarian accounts as part of and as a length of Roman road, traced for various distances along a route from Amothaby near Malton in the south towards the coast, north of Whitby. So we're heading towards the coast in Yorkshire. It's a stretch of Roman road that is a whopping 35 miles in length from one end to the next. So that would make a 2-day walk. And I'm not even going to suggest that. It would make a 2-day walk along the length of Roman road. And there's lots of Roman stuff and medieval stuff on the way. That is half the length of Hadrian's Wall. That gives you an idea. More recent work, however, has suggested that it could actually be a mixture of not only Roman work that it was added to in the medieval period, and it likely have followed a Neolithic and Bronze Age trackway of some description. So in other words, Wheeldale Roman Road is a mixture of everything. It follows some of the early stuff, and then it becomes Roman, and then it's used much, much later. Now, it's definitely of the date. So the visible section of road, what you can make out as definite road, 100%, jumping up and down on stonework, right, over the 35-mile stretch, was given scheduled ancient monument protection in 1912. So it's been protected ever since. And what we do have is a wonderful image that is shown to be the Roman road in 1912, but I hasten to think that it might actually relate to surveying in the 1890s. So let's have a little look at this image. There it is. Don't that look great? And this is as it was being cleared, so it's more or less sat on peat. And again, I wouldn't drive along this in your car today, Del, but that looks like a road, a proper, really nice Roman road. But it's not like the Roman roads, again, at the beginning, it's not like the Roman roads that were described to us when we were children in school. You know, basically a really nice level surface and sort of various layers. It doesn't seem to exhibit those qualities, which is rather interesting. So they started uncovering large sections of the road from all the peat and all the crap that had built up on it from 1912 and 1920. But there had been clearances of parts of the road. This is why I'm saying this image might actually be from the 1890s rather than 1912. The name Wade's Causeway, as the site is also known, derives from a local legend that the road linked the home of a giant called Wade, who lived at Mulgrave Castle, we've already mentioned that, with that of his wife Belle, who lived at Pickering Castle. Now, if we, as a Roman road, as English heritage tells us, this is the most comprehensively studied Roman road in Britain, and it's the most comprehensive stretch of Roman road in Britain. And it traces from the south with really decent alignments, and there's lots of Roman artifacts associated with the Roman road as well, across this topography, across wetland area associated with the Vale of Pickering. And if anyone knows anything about their Neolithic archaeology, the Vale of Pickering is associated with Star-Car. So you could naturally think that people may have been using roads within this landscape for thousands of years, and why not? It's not just the construction of the Romans. Not surprisingly, Roman and other finds continually to be found along this length of road. Various theories have been put forward to explain the purpose of the road. The key suggested associations with the road are the Roman military complex at a place known as Cawthorne Camps on the south side of the moors, and the Roman fort at Malton. The Roman fort at least Rig between the valleys of the River Esk and the Mersk-Esk. And what they're saying is that this might actually lead all the way to the coast at Whitby and associated with the signal stations. I think we mentioned signal stations a few months ago. It seemed to be a late Roman road as well, because it's still being used into the late 300s, into the early 400s. It is believed and it's postulated that there might be other sections of this road. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to just double check I've got my images lining up. Okay, so we're going to look at this image here, and we're going to move back a little bit. This is part of the southern section. This is part of the southern section. Again, you've got all. It's got that stone surface. It's got the ditches on either side. It's got the slight raised camber, and it's got the straight alignment, looking very Roman to us. So what do my notes tell us about this? So Magaret recorded this, and he very much believed that this is obviously a Roman road, and this itself might be associated with various earthworks and military activity. It was probably only used as a military road, and certain widths of the Roman road, it goes up to nearly 8.5 meters wide in sections. 8.5 meter wide sections of the road. That includes the road itself and the ditches on either side. So 8.5 meter sections wide of the road were being written down in the 1920s as part of Ivan Magaret's work on Roman roads. And obviously, thinking about leading north to Whitby, associated with the wonderful signal stations on the coast. The signal stations were associated with sending messages back and forth up along the coastline, warning certain garrisons and certain locations about impending and ensuing attack. So it's likely that this is a military road. It was kept up, maintained. It was kept in use into the 400s. And the one point to be made, again, it could be seen to be used extensively in the medieval period as well, to extensively exploit mineral resources on the North Yorkshire moors, for example. But we don't have much information about this. And you could think as well that this could have been seen as some kind of a division within the Neolithic Bronze Age landscape. And it takes that sort of angle with it. So that's what English Heritage tells us. And I've got a little bit more information about this. But what I want to do, I've got a nice little bit of information here about sort of place names associated with this strength of road, which would be really nice to get onto. But we'll just have a little look at these images just briefly again. So again, that looks quite clear. It looks like most of this was uncovered and given to us as a road back at the end of the 1800s and into the early 1900s as well. And to be honest with you, I have always wandered the landscape of Wales wanting to find a Roman road that looked like this, and I've never ever found one. I have been always so disappointed whenever I've been looking for Roman roads in Wales. In fact, probably the best, well, not the best, this is quite crap really. And there's a tiny little stretch of Gethley Guy I wrote about in my new book, The Romans in South Wales. And that stretch of Gethley Guy, you can see a little bit of a ditch associated with a little bit of a road, but it's quite flimsy. It's nothing like this. And this is what I'm saying. When you think about it, this is very different than the one at Blackstone. Blackstone itself is very different. It looks Roman. It feels Roman. It wants to be Roman. And it's likely as well, it just follows something that's always been there. And again, there is one thing as well that I'm noting that looks very different from this. But that is this. And it's very likely that because this is probably constructed mainly on peat, it's very likely the surface over time has become quite undulated. So it wouldn't have looked like this in the Roman period. It was a little bit more level, a little bit more flatter. So there we go. We've got this sort of stretch going across Yorkshire. It's going all the way up to Whitby. There's Whitby on the little plan there. There's Pickering. We mentioned the Vale of Pickering, and we mentioned as it goes up. And the other thing as well is, if you notice, it's not exactly straight all the way, is it? It's not. It's not like. It's not going. And this is what you find with Roman roads. You know, at the beginning, it sort of said that Roman roads are usually straight between A to B. Well, that might be the case, but it might be along these stretches, there's a location, and there's a location, and they think, oh, right, we've got to go over there now. So we put the road into that direction, right? We go to that place. Oh, that's not really good. We'll follow the ridge over there. We'll go a bit over here. And then we'll go a bit this way. So it's following, technically on the ground, it looks straight, but from above, it looks like a car crash. It looks all over the place. And this is what we're seeing. But it's sort of in a straight line. And that's more of what this used to look like in the 1920s. And seeing as it's within a peaty landscape and seeing as things grow very slowly, it's quite naked and quite vulnerable as it looks there. And obviously, time has had its toll on this road, and time hasn't been kind. But again, what you're walking along now is a proper surface. And that there on the left, sorry, and that there on the right are the dikes associated with this road. Again, that there is that there. And you can sort of see as the road goes off into the distance. And the one thing that I can say, if you want to compare this with roads in Wales, is that the roads in Wales weren't used for a long period of time at all. And where's my evidence for that? Well, they're nothing like this. Okay, where's my evidence for that? Well, okay, if you've got Neath and you've got Resolven, and you've got a length of Roman road from Neath, sort of going over the Resolven landscape, and then it goes all the way over to Colbren, and it's like a bit of a trackway, and it goes to there's several signal stations up there, and there's a Roman military fort at Colbren. Well, after the military fort at Colbren fell out of use, you wouldn't need a road like this. You wouldn't need to maintain it. And therefore, they quickly fell out of use. And what we do see with places like Usk and Caerleon and Abergavenny, those places, they're using the river system to actually get about and not the Roman road network. This is why we don't see Roman roads very well preserved in Wales at all, if you want to compare it with something like this. So again, if we sort of move on a little bit further, and yeah, that's more like it. That's more like a ramble. You can see a bit of the road. I don't think we'll take Pat with us, Roger, because after 3 miles, you say, I've seen it all now. There's no charity shops to buy anything. I want to go home. So there's that sort of connection with these wonderful lengths of road. Now, what I'm going to do now, I'm just going to mention a little bit more about this landscape, and then we'll call it a day, actually. So it's believed that there is a connection with this length of road, and it's quite fantastic. It was believed that, a giant had built it. Connections with legends and folklore when it comes to Wade or Werder. It's hard to determine whether the person and his family were real or fiction. But let's check a name in with this road. Yet there are generations of people from Yorkshire who have taken this last name as their own and passed it down to their children. In fact, the surname Werd is one of the oldest English names in existence. Some derivations are Wade or Wadsworth, Waddington, Widdowton, Wadsley, Wadderley, Wheatley. Lots of names in Britain. Wadeworth, Wadeward, Wadesreid, Wakelag, Watless. Loads of places actually in Britain take their name from this stretch of road, amazingly enough. Wade is accredited to building the very first Mulgrave Castle, so it's going to be a very old castle, as well as Pickering Castle. Wade is also said to have built a road called Wade's Causeway that linked them all together. And legend has it, Wade the Giant built the road for his wife to travel through the moors with her cow. And it's said it was later used by the Romans. Oh my God, Wade is actually pre-Roman? Wow. So, or is it an Anglo-Saxon name? Somebody to do with Wade in the Anglo-Saxon period. So this is the problem. Is Wade actually a real person? But lots of locations and lots of people and surnames have taken their name from this location, Wade. Several large stone monuments erected in the area came from him, and his grave is supposed to be located at Mulgrave Castle as well. There are many references to the Anglo-Saxon Wade in ancient literature and poems. In Old Norse, he is called Verde, and in Old High German, Werdo. To the Danish, he was Wert, and is also mentioned in an old Anglo-Saxon poem called Widsith. This ancient poem, written in the 440s, is the oldest mention of the name in literature. It refers to Weird as ruler. It is interesting that in a time where information was slow to travel, that all these cultures knew who he was, or at least of his legend. So, did Wade exist after the Roman road in the Anglo-Saxon period as some kind of king? Did he exist before the Roman road? And he was responsible for the Roman road. But this is truly a Roman road of myth and legend, and very, very well worth a visit. So what I'm going to do now, I'm I thought earlier on my long COVID was actually getting better, and at one point there today, I was thinking I can't do much more. But anyway, I'm okay now. My special pills have seemed to have kicked in. So, anything anyone wants to ask today about any of the little bits of road that we've actually done?
There's one thing. I was wondering, because Chester and Carlin...
Roger, I can't hear you. Speak up.
The whole road between Chester and Carlin.
Hang on, Roger, I'm going to put my headphones on. I'll be able to hear you. Right, start again.
Say there's no road between Chester and Carlin, is that?
Chester and Viraconium, or Chester through North Wales, yeah.
There's a major... There's no road between them.
Yes. So the length of Roman road from Chester to Anglesey, yes.
Yeah, but
yes.
Between Chester and Carlin.
Yes.
So,
yes. Yeah, there's lots of bits of stretches of road, but obviously not as well preserved as these ones. And I'm going to show you this. I think this I'm not exact. I didn't use this earlier on because I didn't actually know where this image was of. So I'm going to show you an image here. This is another stretch of Roman road, and I think this might actually be part of Wade's road as well. So I'm going to actually show you this image. Hang on a minute. Where are we? Where are we? New share. Bingo. There.
Right.
That's quite nice, isn't it? Because we've got it's raised. There's a road flanking on either side, and that could probably deal with any problems. And actually, I would say that the wall is probably made from the road cobbled surface from the road itself. Sort of used as a little bit of a drover's track and so on between two sort of sections of the landscape. So yeah. So right, I've done your bit, Roger. What about you, Del?
No, that's fine.
Good.
Yeah, really good. Thanks.
My pleasure. And what about you, wonderful, enigmatic, Richard?
Oh, really interesting.
Good. Well, I'm going to catch you out. Richard, when you were a child, where did somebody say there was a Roman road in Vale of Glamorgan?
Cowbridge.
Yeah, well, that's true. I actually used to be told that there was a Roman road. There were many Roman roads in the Vale of Glamorgan, Lantworth Major, Roman roads leading to and from Cowbridge. But I will say that I tell a story about a Roman ghost near Aberthaw on my ghost walks. And this Roman ghost, the story has it quickly that for years a ghost of a Roman soldier was seen near Aberthaw. And it was between the stretch of road between Fontnagery and Aberthaw, just before the Blue Anchor. And it's said that a figure was seen wandering from the north-hand side of the road to the south-hand side of the road about 50, 60 years ago. And this ghost had been seen every single year at the same time. And but the problem is they could only see from the knees up. So the road surface was much further down. Anyway, this ghost. And when they dug up the road on the right-hand side, they found the skeleton of a gentleman, a tall gentleman without a head. Anyway, the body of this, the ghost of this Roman soldier, it was believed, walking from one side of the road to the next hand side of the road, kept being seen for another decade until they widened the south-hand side of the road. And on the south-hand side of the road, they actually found a skull. And when they put the skull and a body together, the ghost was never ever seen again. Now, it might be likely that there is definitely a genuine Roman road leading along the coast to Aberthaw, because Aberthaw was an important Roman locality with a port, and there's Roman buildings being found there and all the rest of it. But the jury's out if you base archaeological evidence on ghosts. So okay then. Well, we're gonna call it a day now. That's a good hour. So next week we're gonna look at Roman tools. Richard, I will be seeing you in the flesh on Monday. And Roger, are we seeing you on Tuesday? Because we missed you this week.
Yeah, I was out and about with my mate last night.
What? Hanging about the pubs?
Yeah, club.
Yeah, okay, fair enough. And what about you, Dal? You're going to be there tomorrow?
Yeah, there tomorrow.
You do Wednesday night, do you as well?
No.
All right, you don't do Wednesday night. Okay. Is there any other questions before we finish, boys and girls?
No, I don't think so, thanks.
Okay, all right then. Well, I will definitely see you all next Wednesday. And may the bed bugs bite. And it's been a pleasure. Del, Roger, and Richard.
Great.
Bigger stickers, huge erection. And we'll see you all next week, folks.
Yeah, okay.
Bye.
Have a good one, guys. Be safe.
Okay,
Ta-da.
Cheers, everyone.
Don't do anything that Richard wouldn't do.
okay, that'll be good.
See you around, Roger. Dodge.
Yeah. Okay, Kai.
See you,
Thanks
lovely.
again.
My pleasure. Bye. Bye. Anyway, thanks very much for watching on live on YouTube, if there's anyone watching, and thank you very, very much. And now I am off. I'm going to stop this recording now.